Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Edison Club. Thank you for being here with me today, as we are about to embark on our brand new journey of destruction.
Are you into high-rarity snobbery?
I am not worthy.
Or perhaps you prefer the common man's bargain hunt?
What the Yugi? Is that a Lila?
Normal summon Lumina, in-phase mill, wolf, wolf, wolf. Watch your opponent devolve into tears. Stack for plague spreader, make Brionic. Brio them into oblivion.
Why me?
Special summon Judgment Dragon, nuke everything. Does this sound appealing to you? Well, then you've come to the right place. Welcome to the Edison Club's ultimate Lightsworn guide.
What's going on, guys, and welcome back to the ultimate Lightsworn guide. And today I am bringing you the list that I played at the 2023 NAWCQ, or Nationals as most people would prefer to call it. And we're going to go over my matchups, go over the deck as a whole, and go over some things that I will probably end up changing in the future. Also, after the deck profile, please make sure that you stick around because you're going to see the Nationals vlog from this year, and that's definitely something that you don't want to miss. This year's Nats was an incredible time. I really had so much fun. I met so many people from the Discords, and it was just a blast. So definitely can't wait for more premier events where they're going to be hosting large Edison events. It was absolutely insane just how large that this tournament was, and I really hope that this weekend has helped to open Konami's eyes even more to see that, hey, you know, your community, they'll support this. You know, this is what we want. We want more Edison stuff. So, yeah. Before we jump into the deck profile and the matchups, guys, please be sure that you like, share, comment, and subscribe. It really just motivates me to keep going, keep improving at content creation, as well as getting better at the game as a whole. So, this looks very familiar, and if you've seen this before, it's probably because you have seen this before. This is ×2's exact list from Deck Devastators 4. At least the main and the side deck are card for card what he played. I changed a couple things in the extra deck, I believe. I can't remember if he played Flamvell or not. It seems like I either remember him telling me he would put it in or he would take it out, but I am a big fan of this guy. So, I mean, the extra deck, honestly, for Lightsworn can just be whatever you want it to be. It doesn't come up a lot outside of, like, just your normal staple stuff that you would make anyway. So, we're not going to talk too much about the extra deck here, but the main deck is card for card exactly what he played, as well as the side deck. So, we're going to go over these matchups here. So, round one, I got paired against Machina Gadgets, and I always say that I think Gadgets have a really good matchup against Lightsworn. Lightsworn really struggles against things that it's hard to get advantage against. And when they're grabbing back, like Machina Fortress every turn, summoning a gadget every turn that just replaces itself, it makes your board wipe cards do less because their hand is more full, so they have more follow-up. That's always been my theory of this, because every time I play against that deck, it seems like I struggle. But unfortunately, I didn't even have time to struggle in this matchup because I got OTK'd both games by limiter removal. So it went something along the lines of destroy your monster. He did have either MST or heavy both games for any of my traps I had. Get rid of your trap, do some gear frame into fortress kind of stuff, into something else, and limit removal for game. So unfortunately, I kind of got non-gamed round one by Machina Gadgets, and that's just sometimes what ends up happening. I will say that, as you see here, I did pull a Starlight Blazing Cartesia. I think that's her name, the Virtuous or whatever her name is. The newer monster that Branded Despia plays. I did pull her, so Blazing Cartesia. So very nice there. So unfortunately, we start out the day with a round one loss, which never helps. But sometimes in Yu-Gi-Oh, especially I feel like Edison format, you can just get downright invalidated. Round two, I played against X-Saber, which is another odd matchup because I can't say that in my testing with Lightsworn, I've had hours worth of testing against X-Sabers, but my opponent was 8 minutes late for game one, and the judge, for some reason, did not give him a game one loss. I don't know. I didn't argue it. He beat me game one, I'm sorry, I beat him game 1. Game 2, he beat me. And game 3, he lost in time. So it was very, very close. I will say that Graganith honestly put in so much work throughout the course of this tournament that I can't believe I wasn't playing this card years ago. Obviously, it's not as good if you don't play Glorious Illusion, because you pretty much have to Tribute Summon it. But there were so many times when I would Illusion or Call the Haunted this card back, and it is just gigantic, and it is such a threat. Especially when you pair it with stuff like Honest. You can get an extra piercing damage with Honest on this guy. So I think when Times2 pioneered this build, part of his thought process in this was looking for ways to make the deck have more win conditions outside of just Judgment Dragons. Like, you take away Celestia and Graganith and these cards, like, your only win con is really just summon Judgment Dragon and hope it goes through. And a lot of times that's your main win con. But adding in the third Celestia and making it easily accessible through having Hamsters and Raikos, Glorious Illusion, really helps you have more blowout cards that you can drop in the early game, as well as Graganith and Glorious Illusion and Judgment Dragon being cards in your mid to your late game. I think I actually won more games with Graganith than I did Judgment Dragon. I don't know if that's sad, that makes me sad, or that makes me happy, but this card was absolutely insane and put in a lot of work against X-Saber, because it's a floating deck, all their defense is really low, and you're just hitting for 2,000 off this guy whenever you attack an Ember's Blade. So round 3, I played against Blackwing, and unfortunately this was my second loss of the day, all the way starting in round 3. So just got very unlucky. Ended up pretty much winning with a Dark Armed off the top, which was live, and sometimes that's just Edison format. Round 4, I play against Gemini, I 2-0 that. Round 5, I play against Blackwing, I 2-0 that. Round 6, I play against Diva Hero, I win 2-1. It's a pretty epic game, honestly. Game 1, I get completely absurdly invalidated by Diva Hero. In Game 2, I actually was fairly certain that I was going to end up losing to him in Game 2. We went back and forth a lot. I end up Glorious Illusioning back a Graganith that's well over 4,000 attack, hitting for a lot of damage. He ends up Miracle Fusing into Absolute Zero, where he then followed up with another Miracle Fusion to banish the AZ on the field, nuke my cards, hit me for some damage. At this point, I actually only have 3 cards left in my deck, and those cards are Super Nimble Mega Hamster, Raikou, and Mirror Force. Now, it's very important that my opponent was left at 100 life after taking so many hits from stuff like Graganith and Celestia. I was at 1800. All I was staring down was an Absolute Zero. So I thought in my head, I can still win, but my next draw has to be Mirror Force, and then I can draw either one of Hamster or Raikou as long as he doesn't draw a body, and win. I picked up Super Nimble Mega Hamster for turn, and I wanted to just outright scoop there. I thought, well, I can still win on my next turn if I draw Mirror Force. Maybe he'll draw another body, and I'll live. Then I draw Mirror Force, he attacks, and the last card in my deck is Raikou, and I can kill him. So I set Raikou, or I set Nimble Mega Hamster and pass. His draw for turn was Spine Gilman, and I kind of sat there and thought to myself, do I just scoop? And I was like, no, I'm going to let it play out. And unfortunately for him, he attacked with the Spine Gilman first, straight into Mega Hamster to take 100 damage, which brings us into a heck of a Game 3 as well, where I end up milling myself out. My last turn, I milled my deck. I had 4 cards left in deck. He had an Absolute Zero and a set card. So I went Tribute my monster for Celestia, mill the last 4 in my deck, no wolves by the way. Hit his set card, hit his AZ. His AZ nukes my Celestia. I summon Judgment Dragon, attack for 3, and then flip either Illusion or Call the Haunted. One of these, I don't remember which one in the battle phase. Brought back Graganith and got in there for the rest of the damage. Absolutely insane Game 3. Definitely shouldn't have even made it to Game 3, but we did, as some people like to say. Sometimes you don't win, your opponent loses, but it was a very sweaty match, and he probably just wasn't thinking clear at that point in the game. It had gone on for so long, so not going to beat him up too bad. I might would have done the exact same thing in that scenario. Moving on to the last round, round 7 is Vayu Turbo. Unfortunately, this was my 3rd loss of the day. I lost 1-2 to him, and the bad part is that I do believe I could have won. Game 1, we got down to a pretty simplified game state where he had like a Colossal Fighter, a Set Monster, and Armageddonite. I had 3 names engraved with Judgment Dragon and Lila in my hand. So what I had to do was a normal Lila, ran it into the Colossal Fighter, which was 3,000. I took 13, and then main phase 2, summon JD, nuke the field. Mill 4, he draws and sets 1. He's at 4,000. And I draw, and for some reason, whatever it may be, I decided to normal summon Honest instead of normal summoning the Aaron in my hand, and attacked with both. He deprisoned the Judgment Dragon, which left me with Honest on the field. That's when I immediately knew that I had just probably thrown the game, and I had to just get super, super lucky against him. And if I could go back and do it again, I would obviously summon Aaron, or if I had my choice, if I had to go with the play I kept, I would just leave the Honest on the field, because he ended up drawing value for turn the next turn and attacking me for game. So if I hadn't have bounced the Honest, I would have at least gotten another turn, but if I had summoned Aaron, I definitely would have won, because he would have had to have just set the value or kept it in his hand, and I would have been able to win the next turn. And I also won game 2, so I would have won that one. But unfortunately, he got me. Sometimes misplays, my opponent misplayed and ran into Hamster, took 100, and then the next round I end up not summoning Aaron and losing. So I guess what goes around sometimes comes around. But all in all, it was a super fun tournament, and I really had a good time. I felt as if I did learn a few things throughout the course of the day. And that's why we're going to get into now what I would actually change in this list moving forward. I actually think that this list is pretty close to being perfect. There are very few things that I disliked about this list. So one of the main things I didn't like, the Cyber Dragon theory in the main sounds good, and I don't know if it was maybe where I used speed dual copies or what, but every time I saw one of these, I saw both of them together. And every time that I milled one, I milled them both together. So I don't know if that was just odd happenstance or if it was where they were speed dual copies. Maybe they're a little thicker. I'm not sure, but Cyber Dragon didn't feel fantastic to me. I also have never been a big believer in Beckoning Light. I don't care for Beckoning that much. I feel like post-side, when you put in Decree, it turns off your ability to be able to recycle your cards. So I'm going to go back to Monster Reincarnation. And I also would probably try to find room for Garoth, because there were a lot of times where I did actually have early access to Lumina and would mill like something like Graganith, which this is the Garoth slot, and that would have been super nice. But I wouldn't cut this guy. I would probably cut something else and just play another Lightsworn name. Like maybe that would be one of these Cyber Dragons are. In the side deck, everything was pretty much fine. I never got to use Snowman, never got to use Fossil Dye, and I did use Breaker a couple times. I actually don't think moving forward that I would sideboard Royal Decree. The main reason being is in the Blackwing matchup, I feel as if you need aggressive cards like Compulse and Torrential to be able to match their aggressive plays. And it feels weird taking out your trap cards here, putting in Decree, and still having in trap cards. It feels awkward to me, especially because I didn't want to have Mirror Force, 2 Illusions, Call the Haunted, double Compulse, double Decree, and Torrential in my deck. It's just bound to be dead at some point within the game. And it was against the first Blackwing player. I had to Decree before I was able to Torrential, and because I couldn't Torrential, ended up losing. So I think that maybe Dust Tornado, just with how this deck is geared, might be better. It also helps to invalidate Black Whirlwind. I do feel like most of my losses against Blackwing, when I do lose to them, is just because I just got out-tempoed with Black Whirlwind. So I think Dust might be a little bit better than Decree. If I went away from trap cards in the main and the side, I would probably go for Decree. It's just a nice blanket effect, but I think Dust might be better, or even something like Trap Stun, just to be able to have a push turn, but also still be able to fall back on traps if you need it. But those are very minimal complaints. This guy was actually, ×2 has to just be like an expert deck builder. So I do have an updated list. I called it ×2 me. And this is probably what I would change the deck to, and this is probably what I will test the next few weeks. As you can see, it's very minimal changes. Adding in Garoth, adding in Monster Reincarnation are the only real changes to the main deck. That's cutting the Cyber Dragon, both Cyber Dragons and the Beckoning Light from the main deck. I just like Reincarnation because it's faster. There were some times where I would draw Beckoning Light and think that I could win this turn, but I have to wait another turn. There were also several times where I had Beckoning Light and Tangent with Gores, which is always just so awkward. Do I want to not set Beckoning and use the Gores? Do I want to set the Beckoning and not be able to use the Gores? So like with Reincarnation, that never really happens. And sometimes just being able to swap out a Lightsworn name in your hand to grab back the JD, so it'll be the 4th name, also comes up too. So this is probably what I'm going to test. I think this is what I would change it to. And yeah, we'll see what ends up happening with this. So that was the deck I played at Nats in the Ultimate Time Wizard Tournament. That's what I would change. Those are my matchups. So let's get into the fun stuff, guys. Let's watch this vlog from the 2023 NAWCQ. Okay guys, so it's currently Tuesday, the Tuesday right before the 2023 NAWCQ in Raleigh, North Carolina. And I'm going to go do a little bit of play testing today with my friend Blake. We're going to test out the ×2 variant of Lightsworn, as well as my own variant of Lightsworn, and, well, I guess also Frogs, considering I was able to win a Nintendo Switch with it this past weekend, which I definitely wasn't expecting. So lots of options going into the Ultimate Time Wizard tournament this weekend, and this week I'm going to try to concrete a list, get it put in paper, and see how this weekend goes. So let's go, guys. Tuesday play testing session. So we have some dragons versus some GB, and then frogs versus some black wings. So, and that's a good sign.
He has to be attacked, and he makes it so froggies can't be destroyed by.
Super early. We're finally on the way to NATS/the WCQ, for those of you that want to get technical. Breakfast time, stopping at the trailer. We made it to the hotel. We're here. There's Justin. We're lost in the parking deck. We made it. We're here. Considering there's a bunch of nerds with backpacks over there, I would say we're going in the right direction. So today, all I'm going to be doing is trying to find cards. I need an Ulti Lila and an Ulti Celestia. I'm not going to be playing anything. I'm going to save my energy for tomorrow. These guys are going to be playing in some events though, so it's going to be fun. It's going to be a good day. Hopefully we can get in a timely manner. We're going in. It's total chaos. So, managed to get here, find both cards I need. Ulti Celestia, Ulti Lila, 3. So now I have 3 of each. And now we're gonna go get food.
Our places don't even have indoors. It's like you eat outside.
All right, now we're headed to Underworld Cards and Games after a long day at the venue. Let's go.
Okay, yeah, I got the
All right. Day 2, Saturday. How are we feeling? Justin, you first. Okay, cool. Austin, how you feeling? How you feeling? Madison, how you feeling? Yeah, this goes on the this goes on the dark side of the. Oh my God! It zoomed in really far.
winning the Black Rose today.
All right, heading to the venue, day 2. All right, pairings have been posted. We got to make it all the way up there. We're all in the back. So I'm currently 3-2 in the Time Wizard tournament. First couple rounds didn't exactly go my way, but we're gonna play it out. We're gonna be here anyway, so might as well. It's a great day. Good friends.
This is dedication.
So guys, in conclusion, just because the tournament didn't go exactly how I would have hoped that it would, does not mean that this wasn't one of the greatest experiences of my life. Just being able to go and play in a Konami-supported Edison format tournament was absolutely fantastic. I think that we're going to get a lot more of this in the future, and this trip, guys, definitely goes down in the books for me as probably my most memorable NAWCQ ever. Just all the people that I met that made this experience so special.
Radiate and never dim.
I also have to give a very special shout out to my good friend Cole for piloting probably the craziest deck I have seen in quite some time, this absolutely insane Beast OTK strategy.